and it's all about the largest social media company in the world has formally changed its name from Facebook, which we knew it was going to. My joke was it was going to be called The, and instead, almost it's Meta. It's changed its name to Meta.
How the hell did they get that name?
Oh, it's
That's
impressive, dude. It's almost like they have Facebook money.
Yeah. Weird, huh?
No, but they do.
like
They have
we would just come and
meta.com.
buy. We would just come and buy the company that has the name Meta, just like to get the
Uh,
name Meta.
is it intentional, by the way, when you have so much money that the symbol isn't symmetrical? Is that intentional? The
Yes,
lack of
definitely,
symmetry?
100%.
Why?
Because, well, people notice and it goes in their brain. So this was like, so we'll probably call out the gaming highlights from this week's Facebook Connect. And there's quite a lot of interesting stuff. And like, I really wanted to raise it. So the company has changed its name to Meta. So that's the head company. Facebook itself is still going to be called Facebook. And the whole point of the rebrand is really because Mark Zuckerberg wants to push the company aggressively into the metaverse space. So space that's currently occupied by Roblox, which has been down for 24 hours. Is that right, Swinny? At time of recording?
Yes.
And Fortnite. So Fortnite, you know, as everyone knows, many times recently they've had concerts. They've also hosted Star Wars trailers. They also hosted critical pieces of information about that Star Wars movie that was only in Fortnite, which I did not know until after watching that movie, and then I couldn't believe that that was actually something actually important to know before watching that movie. So the other thing was that Oculus as a brand, which is I would say the most recognized VR brand name, has been retired. So it's still on products currently, but it will be phased out. So by 2023, it would be no longer, and everything's going to be called Meta, related to Oculus. So you have the Meta Quest, Meta Horizon, Meta Home, everything like that. And it's all going to integrate into the Facebook universe and also Instagram as well, they've said. And as part of that rebrand, they did actually, to be fair to Facebook, which is not one of my favorite companies, did acknowledge the criticism that they had on the requirement to have a Facebook account, but they will require, I'm assuming, a Meta account. And they did say they want to authorize other accounts to be able to log into the metaverse and, you know, use Meta devices. But they did specifically say work accounts. So I'm not expecting, based on what they're saying, like a Gmail, like just, you know, a standard Gmail sort of account or something like that. It sounds like, you know, a work account. So, you know, someone who wants to meet virtually or telecom and things like that. The other things that they mentioned in the Facebook Connect was a new project that was heavily rumored, Project Cambria, which is a pro VR set in line with the original sort of Oculus sets that were out. So it has advanced eye tracking and facial expressions, leaning into areas where they've actually, you know, done fairly well recently. And finally, after the real huge critical success of Resident Evil 4 VR, which, you know, has had a complete VR overhaul of that game. You can play the entire game without a PC. It's just the Oculus Quest 2 to play it, and everyone that I've heard playing it absolutely loves it. So I'm really looking forward to playing it one day. Won't be right now. If you listened to the show last week, I could not procure the Oculus Quest 2 for this show. So that will be down the track. I'm almost thinking PSVR, but anyway, I'll park that. That they had a really cool announcement, actually, that GTA San Andreas is going to be built and have an overhaul very similar to Resident Evil 4 VR, and be released in the Meta Quest 2, I'm guessing, because it sounds like it's a little bit far away still. So, yeah, like I think there's a lot of decent announcements. I'm not a huge fan of Meta or Facebook as a company. Oculus is something I would actually have bought if it was its own company or owned by a company that I can, you know, get behind a little bit.
Trust.
But yeah, like Swinny, like you're the one of us. Have you even used one of these VR devices?
I've never used VR in my life
Yeah, interesting.
outside of the VR we talked about
Yeah,
in
way
our
back in the show,
local
yeah.
pool joint like 10, 15 years ago or whatever,
I
whatever it
think
was.
we've mentioned this story once before, but like there was a pool joint we always used to go to, and like they obviously had invested like tens of thousands of dollars in this like 90s VR set and experience, and they never wanted to move it, and it was so expensive. It was like 25 Australian dollars or something from memory to use it. And I don't think we ever saw anyone use it from memory.
No, that they were ahead of their time. That was the real metaverse. That was
Yeah,
the fun city metaverse.
Fun
too
city,
early.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
But
but
Like,
yeah,
like
things have improved a little bit, Swinny, since then.
yeah, but I guess that's you asking. No, yet to use VR. Obviously, I'm super keen to try it at some
mm,
point. I've definitely had my eye on getting one now that I've got more space to use that stuff, especially ones that require a bit more like yes. So for listeners, Mike just held up an Oculus. Was that a Quest 2?
Quest
I'm
2, yeah.
advertising at a Quest 2,
Quest
yes.
2. So, but yeah, in terms of this news, look, it's Facebook.
Mm,
Everything they do has just an air of just like just insincerity.
mm,
So I love where this technology is going, and I think it's going to open up a lot of great avenues around just the idea of having virtual spaces. I think is cool. I know it's not brand new, but I like that idea. But just I mentioned it when we were recording before. Just Mark Zuckerberg is one of the most like just you just look at him and I
mm.
just don't trust a single word he says. I just really don't.
That was the most artificial fake presentation I've seen in a long time. Everything about it, ironically, obviously, because it's all about VR, was just felt so fake and scripted, and oh god, I was rolling my eyes the whole time.
It is like I would, if people are keen on this stuff and interested, I would recommend people go back and watch the Facebook Connect stream, because it is interesting. Like, it's funny, and there's
Yeah,
a lot
give
of
him that.
interesting stuff in there. And I don't disagree with you, Mike. It's very weird, and just like when he's looking at his avatar, his virtual avatar and everything, and then
Oh,
he mirrors himself, and it's
it's
just the joke about the robot. Like, there's a robot avatar, and he's like, "Oh, I thought I'd be the robot." I'm like, there's no way he would have come up with that, or
the
like, he maybe even understood why that's funny. Like, potentially, he's a
the
strange
present
guy.
the presentation feels like a parody. It's
It
kind of
does,
wild.
yeah.
It's
Yeah,
so uncanny, but what the idea is like a really sound and
Yeah.
cool. And obviously that's the direction they're going with to get away from traditional social media. They're kind of moving to that as well. But just like we went into depth when we were talking before, just the privacy nature of it.
Mm.
Like this is just Facebook are one of the worst offenders in the past of this stuff.
Yeah.
And this, I don't have a Facebook account. I don't have an Instagram account. Like, I I wouldn't trust them at all with my information. So
well, it's also sorry, Antigone. I think ultimately it's the pinnacle of the quote that if you're not paying for the product, you are the product. And I think this is taking it a
Mm.
whole new level, where what they're trying to do is get you into this virtual world where they can suck every single thing out of you that they possibly can, because they'll know everything about you.
Zuck every single
They'll
thing.
suck everything out of you that they possibly can. And this is why I think, look, it's,
Zuck
it's an
you off.
interesting innovation, and I think it's going to succeed because a lot of people will fall for this. And I want to go through my philosophical rant that I had before about the fact that people unfortunately will be happy to live in this virtual world,
Mm.
because for a lot of people the real world sucks. I like the real world, as shit as it is, in a lot of times, as hard as it
I
is
think
in a lot of cases. I love the real world. And
specifically, you said you love reality.
Yeah.
I
which
love
was just the
reality. I do.
funniest thing.
I love going in and out of virtual reality here and there just to dabble with it and experience games. And whether that's in an actual VR world or just let's say a 2D plane of a monitor. Don't get me wrong. I grew up experiencing all these different things, but I think there's a limit to how much I'm willing to personally, and I think this goes for a lot of people, how much they're willing to give up their real world to try to live in this thing. And first and foremost, to me, the creepiest thing ultimately is that Facebook are about profits and they're about making money in the end. And this whole thing about connecting people is just, yeah, sure, okay, yes, but really it's a means to an end. And ultimately, it's about what can they do with the information that they get on you. And if you're going to spend most of your time in the virtual world, you're going to use virtual currency to do those things. You're going to get paid in the real world, let's call it that, for stuff that you do, and a bunch of your money is going to go into this thing, so you can continuously do stuff in the virtual world. To me, that's just weird. It's messed up, man. It really is. When we get to a world, it's such a dystopian idea, especially coming from a company like Facebook to do that. It's nuts. And just One thing that I think is quite cool though about something like the Project Cambria that I don't think we covered just yet is that he did mention in the Facebook Connect stream that it's supposed to be sort of the latest tech that they're putting into this. So it's going to be quite a premium device until they can get those features to the standard, well, I can't call it Oculus anymore, the standard Quest products. So I think that's going to be interesting. It's going to be cool to see how this, because it's a huge company with a lot of money behind them, will evolve VR as a piece of technology. I just think ultimately for me, it's becoming really dystopian. This whole thing that I watched felt like an episode of Black Mirror. It really did. Like you could take this entire thing, label it as a Black Mirror episode, and I'd be like, yeah, that's a good episode. I like that.
We haven't spoken about the most important piece of news that came out of this Facebook Connect, though. Just posted an image in our chat. Sorry, a link to an image that Mark Zuckerberg was using a bottle of Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce as a door stopper. Sorry, a book
What?
thing, whatever you call them. It's the best thing ever. It's like
That is pretty cool, actually.
everything is so manufactured in a certain way that somebody must have placed it there.
Oh,
Of course,
for sure.
of course.
But it's like, why would you put that on a shelf?
Next to a pic of Betsy, his
Maybe as
non-existent
part
dog.
of Cambria, you can taste things, you know. So that's
Take
going to
some
be
Sweet Baby Ray's honey
Yeah.
barbecue sauce.
No, that would be interesting.
Yeah, look, like Mike, I get what you're saying. I think the scary thing is Facebook is, you know, what is there? Like 10 companies in the world, like the Tencents of the world, Apple, Google. Like there's very few companies that if they go full on in this space can only win. Like everyone else, like basically you've got 10 players in the entire world that could only potentially win, right? And right now, from a metaverse perspective, you've only, like, honestly, Roblox and Fortnite are the only, you know, and more so Epic with Fortnite. Like, they're, you know, big on the metaverse and pushing that angle. But I mean, they're never going to be able to compete with Facebook. Facebook has got like the most ridiculously deep pockets. And it does worry me because I think the whole metaverse space, you know, I'm not like, you know, I love learning about new tech. You know, I was huge on Bitcoin, you know, right when it first started. You know, I'm not that big on like things like NFTs and all these other kind of things that are bubbling up. But the whole metaverse idea, I genuinely think that could be like as revolutionary as the internet. And when you're saying about that, it's like, I totally could imagine people getting jobs in the metaverse, getting paid in that world's currency, and then you're like so like locked in then, right?
Yeah.
And you know, I can see this sort of economic loop that it creates. And you know, like I think the pandemic has proven that people can stay at home and work and do things. So it's kind of like as a model, they've almost like had real evidence to show this can work, right? So for me, it's like I feel like the whole metaverse thing is an inevitability. And you know, the whole VR thing, the way they do it, it's not going to work. There's got to be some huge advance in that space. But man, I do not want Facebook to be the winner. Like the idea that Zuckerberg is the president of the
creepy.
metaverse is like
He-
I'd be like one of those people like, how do we blow up this metaverse?
Zuckerberg will be the Lord British of the metaverse.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And someone will hack it and then take him down.
All right, let's not put violent threats out there because I know what happened
Yeah,
to
let's-
Lord British in that case.
Yeah.
So let's chill on that, Sweeney. All right, well, I think we've done that topic, but like, look, to be fair, like a lot of cool announcements. I hope it propels and pushes other players to do more in this space. I'm super keen to see what Sony does with PSVR 2 next year, which almost certainly will be a holiday device for next year. So really looking forward to that. Let's get into the next story.